Toronto FC went and made two moves regarding the forward core around the August long weekend. The first was an incoming move bringing in Prince Osei Owusu from Germany, and the second was an outgoing move loaning Jordan Peruzza to the Halifax Wanderers of the CPL. Two interesting moves focusing on the depth of this team's offense, so let's dive into it, starting with the inbound move. Prince Osei Owusu, an interesting getup for Toronto FC, 26-year-old, 6'3" German striker who spent the past couple seasons in the German second tier. In the German second tier, he hasn't been a regular starter. He had 2 goals in 19 appearances in 2021-2022 and 9 goals in 32 appearances and 18 starts last season. So he's a guy who in the German second tier has been able to pop in a couple of goals here or there. Most notably last season, he did average 0.47 goals per 90 minutes played, and that's not a terrible result for a striker. That's not a terrible output for a striker. So he's a decent goal scorer, a guy who's capable of scoring goals in the German second tier, and that usually can translate into a couple of goals a season in MLS. Now, for what Toronto FC needs right now, a high quality striker, he's not the answer to that. He's very much a depth pickup. I'm honestly kind of surprised that Toronto FC is spending an international roster spot on this guy. The past 2 seasons in the 2 Bundesliga, both teams he's played on have ended up being relegated, which is why he moved teams at the end of last season and now is moving teams again right now. And even in his younger days in the German third tier, he never averaged more than 0.32 goals per 90 minutes played. So he never at the professional level has shown a high output of goals. He's shown decent outputs of goals at the professional level, but never a high output of goals in leagues that you could argue are worse than Major League Soccer. And the biggest concern for me is this guy's goal outputs and league he played in to get those goal outputs very closely match that of Terrence Boyd. And for anyone who remembers 2019 Toronto FC, Terrence Boyd was just not a good player. He was so bad that when we brought Patrick Mullins in halfway through that season, Patrick Mullins was an increase in ability over Terrence Boyd. So to be bringing in a guy who's like about the same build and about the same goal output in the same league as Terrence Boyd was when we brought him in, it's a little concerning to me. I mean, I think like Osei Owusu could be great. He could be a lot better than Terrence Boyd was in MLS. His play style, his abilities could suit MLS a lot better. But just the fact that the last 2 Bundesliga guy we brought in was Terrence Boyd is just alarm bells ringing for me. Now, again, he could be great, but I don't expect him to be more than just a depth striker option. And so with that in mind, having him be an international roster spot player is a little bit of a confusing aspect of this whole move to me. Like, Toronto FC does need strikers, but this move doesn't seem like the solution to the problem. It just seems like more throwing darts at the wall, which isn't really ideal. Moving on to the other move Toronto FC made, loaning out Jordan Peruzza to the Halifax Wanderers. Now, Jordan Peruzza started playing for Toronto FC's first team in 2021, and since then he has made 30 first team appearances for Toronto FC, scoring 2 goals. And I think most fans have come to the same conclusion of Jordan Peruzza, and it's just that he never really has looked up to the MLS level. He's never really looked like he's been able to play at the MLS level. And I think the team knows that too, because in this season, even with all the striker problems we've had, he's only made 5 appearances, despite the fact that basically every single striker ahead of him in the depth chart has gone down with injury at some point, and at times we're even playing 18-year-old Hugo Mbonge ahead of Jordan Peruzza in the striker role. So Peruzza's a guy where he's in a weird spot where he's just a little too old and a little too mature to really be going into that MLS Next Pro environment. Like, he needs proper professional football that like actually means something more than just MLS Next Pro. And so the CPL is the ideal location for him. So we loan him out to the Halifax Wanderers for the remainder of the season. Now, Peruzza going to the Halifax Wanderers is interesting because the Wanderers are a team where it's not guaranteed he's going to be going there and immediately starting every single game. For those of you unfamiliar with the CPL, the Halifax Wanderers just had João Morelli return from injury. Now, João Morelli was the CPL top goal scorer in 2021 in the beginning of the 2022 season. He went down with like a 16-month injury that he just now is returning from a couple of weeks before they bring in Peruzza on loan. So Jack Morelli is one of the top goal scorers in the CPL, one of the top strikers in the CPL, and that's who Jordan Peruzza is going to be fighting with for minutes. Now, he already got a game, like the day the loan was announced yesterday, he got in on the bench for like the last 25 minutes of that game, and like he had a good run. And I think it's interesting is Peruzza in the CPL could slap. Like, he is the type of guy who can go and perform well in the CPL, especially on a Halifax team that just creatively is very well, and with Caligari feeding him, like there is potential for Jordan Peruzza to slap in the Canadian Premier League and help Halifax a lot this season. And for Jordan Peruzza's career, like for Toronto FC and for him moving forward, this is a situation where like if Jordan Peruzza goes to the CPL, scores a bunch of goals, gets some confidence, you bring him back next season, you start playing him because now he's like showing that he's built up confidence, he's built up ability, and then you can start playing him. If he doesn't perform in the CPL like at a very high level, like if he doesn't wreck that league, then you kind of know, okay, this is a guy where like the CPL is kind of the level that he probably should be at, and you just kind of let him drift off into the Canadian Premier League permanently. I wouldn't count him out just yet. He's the type of player where he could have a monstrous last 10, 11 games to the Canadian Premier League season, so I wouldn't count him out of Toronto FC's future plans just yet, but like this definitely for him is a perform in Halifax or like the Toronto FC dream is going to end sort of deal for Peruzza. So overall, out of these two moves, Toronto FC gains a depth striker and loses a depth striker. It's going to be very interesting how Prince Osei Owusu plays in MLS. I mean, he could be decent in this league, but again, just with the service Toronto FC has and the way Toronto FC has been recently playing, it's not a conducive environment for strikers to really showcase themselves and have good seasons. So I don't see Prince Osei Owusu just being a great player right off the bat for Toronto FC. Maybe like if we keep him around for next season because he's only 26, and then he gets an opportunity with a different Toronto FC team, with a better Toronto FC team, maybe he could be a very useful depth striker. But he comes in and Jordan Peruzza heads out for the rest of the season, which, as I said, if he goes and has a great couple months on loan in Halifax, then comes right back into the fold next season, we consider playing him more if he just shows off and completely wrecks the CPL. But if Peruzza doesn't perform incredibly well at Halifax, I think we're all okay with him just kind of floating off into the void. So that was it for this video. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought of these two moves. And as always, if you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more of my stuff, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Link is down below in the description, and I will see you next time.